Hey everyone, I am Peggy and this is Kathleen Lisson,
Hi.
a certified lymphedema therapist, a massage therapist. You do everything.
I'm an author and international speaker.
Yes.
I went to London once, and I'm an international speaker.
You went to,
now.
you spoke in London.
At the MLD UK
Yes.
conference,
Yes.
yeah.
But you attended a huge conference in Germany.
I went to advanced training at the Foldy Clinic.
Yeah, that's kind of a big deal.
Yeah, it was.
For us lymphy people, it's kind of a big deal.
That is the mothership. That is the ground zero for all the lymphedema innovation in the world.
Yeah.
It's the Foldy Clinic.
So that was like pretty cool.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was amazing.
So on this video, we're going to talk about me. Talk all about Peggy.
Let's talk about you on your blog.
I know, right?
Oh, really?
Yay! I get to talk about me on my blog.
Great.
So some of you that follow me know that I've had lymphedema in my left leg and abdomen for over 21 years now. But about 5 months ago, I started having what I contributed a lymphedema flare-up. I was like, okay. And I was doing all my little tricks and nothing was working. Mm-hmm. And then I actually saw you. We were at the Run Walk for Learn in Santa Monica. And I cut out early. And that's not normally my style. And I was not telling anybody.
That was like a highlight day.
Yeah. And
for you, like, to be able to. Well, maybe I'll hijack this video.
Yeah, totally.
And let's talk just a moment about your feelings about seeing other people in person with lymphedema.
Well, because 21 years and up until a few years ago, I had not met in person one person with lymphedema.
Yeah.
I had started a Facebook community group years ago when that was literally, there was 3 groups on Facebook for lymphedema.
Yeah. And
my friend Terry and I didn't like, the other groups were just kind of, whiny. So we're like, hey, let's start our own group. And so, one of the, founding groups, and that was it. Like doctors didn't know anything. Therapists, it was hard to even find a therapist that really got it.
Yeah.
And so we were like, what did your doctor tell you? What did and we're like, trying to learn and then taking it back to our therapist and taking it back to our doctor. And, it was survival. And so I think the first time was last year, 2018. And it was just overwhelming to see so many people that have this disease that you feel like you're the only one in the world with, you know. And, we're all proudly wearing our compression and, we're out there taking selfies and having a great time. And there's experts there. There's, medical doctors, there's therapists, there's, providers, for compression garments and different pumps and different things there. So it's just, it's fun. And it's like Comic-Con for lymphedema. Okay, a really small Comic-Con.
I don't know, I don't know how many people really, really love lymphedema. Like they're buying tickets.
But it is something to be a part of.
To be in a community, to be able to be in a public place, wearing compression with a group of people who understand what you're going through, what your journey is, and to see some of the resources for the first time. It's a great situation, and it's very indicative. The fact that these feelings are coming up is because this is a disease, this is a chronic condition that's not talked about in public. Like we could count on our fingers how many people in Hollywood, in LA, are really open about the fact that they have lymphedema.
Thank you, Kathy Bates.
And that, and that's one finger. And we have, I don't have very many fingers on my hands. And it just shows kind of, even though it's happened, it's been a disease for decades that we knew about and that we were treating. It's not in the public. It's not in our popular culture. It's very isolating. It's more of that thing you point out. What's wrong with that lady's leg? And then what's wrong with that lady's arm? And then you or you hide it and you don't go out, and then you try to mask it. So you see a lot of people that have lymphedema that you would never know because they're not open about it because they feel that they have to hide it. Because they don't want people pointing at them. And I hid it for years. It wasn't until just a few years ago, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago,
that, you know, I started talking about it, and oh my God, how freeing that was.
Yeah.
But, you know, and you know, being comfortable enough, you know, to go out in a dress with my compression garment on, that's a really new thing for me.
Yeah.
And, you know, Merrick's like, that's you, put on your dress, you're beautiful, let's go, you know, and so, you know, and people do stare at me and say, what is, you know, and that gives me the opportunity to say it's lymphedema, and then I give them the little 3-minute condensed lymphatic education.
Yes.
But, you know, that's what it's going to take for people to know is, you know, talking about it.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, so I really wanted to set that up, what we want to talk about today, by thinking of the fact that there's things that are present, that are happening, that we don't know about because we're not talking about them. So talking about it, raising awareness in videos like this, I hope that someone sees this video and then that inspires them, hey, maybe this is me too. Right. And maybe I can talk to my doctor about this. Right. Especially if you have lymphedema, or you have swelling in the legs. Definitely, and this could be an important video for
exactly, because you know, it's not just cosmetic. It's not just, oh, I have an ugly swollen leg. You know, before I had it under control, I was having cellulitis infections all the time, and that's life-threatening. I was on tons of medication. My liver was in bad shape. I mean, there was serious issues caused from the lymphedema. So, you know, it's not just, you know, it's a big leg or a big arm. It's life. The things that it can cause can be life-threatening. Yeah. So, you know, it is a big deal, and it does need to be talked about. So back to this year, right? We're at the thing, and I just cut out, and I know people are texting me like, "Where'd you go?" I'm like, and what I told people is, I said, I think I tweaked my knee. My knee swelled really bad. Yeah. So what was going on was, my left leg, my lymphedema leg, was swelling and just super uncomfortable. My abdomen was swelling. Now my abdomen swells from time to time, but it was like I can't put my jeans on, not like. And my right leg was so big that it, like, I could barely put my jeans on over my knee.
Good leg.
Yeah, over my good leg. My good leg was bigger than my, you know, I took measurements, and I'm freaking out because I'm like, you know, and I'm asking people, like, because I've heard that, you know, lymphedema can progress, and I'm like, no, I don't, like, I've been so good. Like, I've, you know, for 8 years, especially the last 4, I've really had, you know, my lymphedema under control and pretty much live a normal life. I wear a compression garment every day. I do my massages every day. I do my things. I eat super clean because for me, that helps. And, everything, I was like trying all my tricks, you know, and nothing was making the swelling go down, and the pain was intense. And I was like, you know, I have a certain level of pain with lymphedema, and I always tell people, like, my normal pain is right here. So anything above that, like, you know, a person that doesn't have chronic pain, you know, a 2 or a 3, oh, you know, it may be irritating, but you give me anything over what my, you know, it, like, it's tough. And my back was hurting. I was having stomach problems, and I was like, what is going on? And my legs swollen, and nothing was working. And I was KT taping, and I had, you know, you wear compression garments for 14 years, and you have a few extra things laying around. And Juzo had sent me some thigh highs before, and they didn't work for me because, you know, I put a thigh high on and then I swell above it, so that's why I wear the custom. But I had these thigh highs, so I'm like, okay, so I'd put I have my regular compression on my left leg and my abdomen, and then I have a thigh high on my right leg, and I'm like, but that was the only thing that gave me any kind of relief. Yeah. The pain was just crazy. And so then finally I'm like, this is not medical advice at all. I have my own personal issues that I deal with, and I don't see medical doctors very often. I don't recommend that for you. That's just what I do. So I moved to LA about 3 years ago and hadn't bothered to get a primary doctor in LA yet. So now that I need a doctor, it's going to be 3 weeks and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, ugh. So I'm to the point where I need to go to the doctor now. So I find in urgent care that it's kind of weird how they do it here. It's you actually make an appointment at urgent care. Anyway, Not how we do it in San Diego, but we're in LA now. So
there's more people.
Yeah. So I make my appointment and I go. And this is a fun story, so humor me. Because anyone with lymphedema or lipedema will probably totally identify.
Yeah.
So I get to the doctor and I'm in pain and my leg is huge and I'm, and he's like, what are you here for? And I say, well, I've had lymphedema for 21 years. However, and he cuts me off and says, what do you mean lymphedema? And I'm like, surely he's heard the word. Like I'm in my head, I'm thinking, because my goal for going to the doctor was to get referred to a lymphedema therapist.
Certified lymphedema.
That was my goal.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's always my go-to. Like, just you have to go to the doctor so they can refer you. Like that's just the process. Like, I don't care what the doctor has to say. I just want that referral, and that was the only reason I went. Mm-hmm. So I'm looking at him, and I was like, I'm like, well, I have lymphedema. I'm like confused. Like, you've heard the word. Like, you've at least heard the word, right? And he was like, lymphedema isn't a diagnosis. It's a symptom. And I was like, well, actually, edema is a symptom of lymphedema, which apparently doctors don't like to be told their job. But I mean, I just didn't know. I was confused. And so I just kind of overlooked that. And I was like, so I'm thinking, I'm swelling on both legs now and my abdomen. I'm just really hoping that you can send me, refer me to a lymphedema therapist, And he's like, well, no, because you don't have lymphedema. And I'm like, okay. And he's like, well, let me see. So I take my jeans off. I say, would you like me to take my compression garment off? He goes, no, I can see everything I need to see. He says, all I see is a middle-aged woman that doesn't exercise, doesn't eat right, and needs to, you're overweight, you need to lose weight. So I put my jeans on, I put my shoes on. He's like, what are you doing? And I said, well, I'm leaving. He says, well, we have to figure out what's wrong. And I said, no, I don't think it's going to work. So I left. I was left calmly because if I had said one word, I would have lost it.
Yeah,
so,
everyone would have come up.
Yeah, if I would have said one word, I would have like screamed and cried and it would have been ugly. And so I literally just left and went into the parking lot and sobbed, like literally sobbed. And it wasn't that he called me fat. That's not what it was. It was the fact that for 8 years when I was undiagnosed, I remember how frustrating that was to be undiagnosed and not know what's wrong with me, and have people tell me I need to lose weight and not eat anything and exercise and still not, be gaining and not being able to lose. And it was frustrating because I thought, I know that I have lymphedema, so I know what the root cause is here, but how many people go see him and he doesn't diagnose them? And I'm like, I thought for somehow, because I'm like in this great community with all these amazing people like yourself and, all these great lymphedema specialists, in my head, like, we get it now, but we don't. The majority of doctors still don't get it. And there's still people that are undiagnosed and misdiagnosed and treated horrible like I was for those 8 years. And even after the 8 years, because I even though I was diagnosed, my primary doctor, I basically took a note and said, I have lymphedema. He's like, okay, what do we do? And I'm like, they told me to tell you to write me, and that's what he did.
Yeah.
And so, it was, so that was super disheartening. I mean, and then I came home, I finally stopped sobbing enough to drive, and I got home and I went upstairs and I sat on my floor in fetal position, just sobbing again. And then that's when I texted you. I was a wreck. I was like, they were mean to me. But, it really felt like just everything. And it was like, there's so many people that are still misdiagnosed. And, I forgot because I got, I'm in this wonderful community that like people like you that want to help people like me. Yeah. And so it was so crazy. So long story short, I mean, really long story. I end up being, getting a referral to a vascular surgeon. And my response was, you get that the vascular system and the lymphatic system is different, right? And the doctor said, yes, but we're going to do this first. And I was like, fine. And then I came home and texted you. And you're like, I think that's good. And I was like, what do you mean? And because, about 13, 14 years ago, I can't remember when, I did see a vascular surgeon. And they said my veins were fine. So I'm like, my veins are fine.
Because veins never change.
Right. Duh.
They're always going to be good. So,
but you were like, no, go. Like, put your attitude over to the side, Peggy, and just go.
I think I was nicer than that. Because it's good. Like, a vascular surgeon is sometimes our only ally.
Yeah.
If you're outside of oncology. So if your lymphedema is post-oncology because it's a side effect of your cancer treatment, then your oncologist will know the word lymphedema. But outside of an oncologist, it's rare to see someone who has like a sustained, that they've had to take classes.
Yeah.
And I am a member of, it used to be the American College of Phlebology. We're all now the American AVLS, Vein and Lymphatic Society, and we have a conference, and it's the venous surgeons and the lymphedema therapists together, and we learn. So I learned a lot of vein stuff, and they are, able to learn lymphatic stuff, and we see how those two systems are they're literally in circulatory and lymphatic system are interconnected. But as the practice of medicine, we can't just be in these silos where one person does one system, one person does another system, someone only does skin. Like we have to interact with each other just as the systems interact with one another.
Right. Well, the vascular surgeon that I was sent to, his office is vascular and lymphatic system. And it was like, well, look at that. He has the word in his name. Yeah. So I called to make the appointment. This is, right after you were like, quit having, she was nice because she's wonderful, but basically she's like, suck it up, Peggy, make the phone call.
Well, it's good news.
So
we're getting somewhere.
So I call and the lady answers and she's like, what are you wanting to see us for? And I said, well, I have lymphedema, but my doctor sent me to you. And she goes, oh, sweetie, it's okay. We treat people with lymphedema. You're in the right place. And I was like, just the fact that she knew the word.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it was just immediately just, And Merrick and I went to the first visit, and he's asking me all these questions, and he's like, I think you've got some definite vascular issues here. He's like, I want to bring you back in for an ultrasound.
Yeah. So
we go in for the ultrasound, and the guy doing the ultrasound talked us through everything, and he was like, yeah. It's supposed to take 30 seconds for your and my left leg, it takes 3 minutes for that circle, so it's like, it's not the way it's supposed to be. And also some issues here. So the good news is they can fix this. So every time I had a flare up, I always blamed it on the lymphedema, not even imagining that it could be anything else. The fact that I wore compression garments kind of hid some of the symptoms that other people would get. Because I wear a compression garment every single day. So some of the leg fatigue and stuff, again, I just would contribute to the lymphedema. So anyway, they're going to fix 2 veins in my left leg and 1 vein in my right leg, and I'll keep you posted. Because that's really, I know that you're not an expert in this, but you have some knowledge.
Yeah.
And I'm definitely not an expert in this because I've always been told lymphedema system, vascular system.
Yeah.
It's one or the other. But what the doctor was explaining to me is, when your blood goes down, it's, your lymphatic system is taking the stuff out of the blood, the waste, the unwanted stuff. But, that your veins don't have a pump. Just like your lymphatic system does it. Your vessels have what do you call it now? Just valves. In your veins.
Yeah.
And so when those valves, that's what is the pump in your veins is the valves. That's what
what keeps the blood from
moving,
refluxing back in is the fact that each time it's pumped, that a valve will close, and then that blood can't go back because of the force of gravity.
Right.
So when the venous system is weakened, then when you start getting the incompetent valves, that blood starts refluxing you don't have as good of a circulation in the leg as you used to, and then that can actually kick up. It is said now that the number one cause of lymphedema in the United States is vascular issues. It is no longer oncology, and that's a really great victory for oncology, because it used to be as a result of cancer surgery, but we've done, I think those surgeons have just done such a great job in reducing, getting those rates down, but we have a population that is having more and more venous issues. And that is something that I think is not really looked at, because I know I'm 45 and I go to the doctor regularly, and I mean, not that you don't, but I'm saying I have a lot of interaction with my physician, and she's a wonderful physician. But when we do, the only time she would look at my legs, like I can go in there and you can get a pap smear, and then I have a cancer history with skin cancer, so I get my skin checked. But it's like your doctor isn't sitting there and looking at the legs, your general practitioner. So it's really you, the patient, the client, that has to go forth with the symptoms. And we don't even know, in popular culture, we're like, what are the symptoms of anything venous?
Exactly. And you just think, I'm overworked, I'm tired, or you don't.
And it's usually, for me, I'm confident in looking at pictures of my great-grandmother that she had hemosiderin staining. But this is only something that I learn as someone with my education.
Is that varicose veins?
So it's the red. No, it's the red. You can get redness if you have the additional red blood cells, and then there's a reflux area. So one at the end, you can see it if you look and people are walking on the beach or people are walking in shorts. You'll see some people's legs are stained that rust color, the lower leg. But that's kind of, it runs in the family. And my grandmother, my father's, both sides of my father's family, thanks Dad, both sides. And then the woman I'm named after, my grandmother, she always had these support hose that she would wear. And you kind of like, oh, that's Granny support hose. So it must be because she's old, and all old people should wear that. This is how you're thinking when you're 10. And so you can come to your family and they're just like, oh yeah, people complain about their legs when they're old. And when you work a hard day, you just put your legs up and that's how you relax. And these are actually symptoms of different venous diseases that we just will hear in popular culture. We'll hear our family talk about that, and we'll just think, oh, okay, well, of course, it's completely natural, because I saw my mom, because I saw my aunt. She was like, I just got home, I can't do anything else. I'm just going to lie down for a minute and put my legs up. And then in 10 minutes, I'm going to be ready to get up again. And if you see that happening with the men and women in your family, you think that's normal. You don't think it's a venous disease, but if it runs in your family, you could be the first person to actually get treatment for this. That is a sign that you should talk to your doctor about, and then that's hopefully you'll get referred to the correct doctor. But we see, we can walk out on the street, we can walk in the mall, we can walk to the beach and see a lot of untreated leg lymph swelling and some venous issues. Because I'm going to do something crazy now. Because the treatment for the first treatment for venous issues is 20 to 30 compression stockings, which I'm wearing because I have venous issues myself. But it was not diagnosed, by my physician. It was diagnosed because I was part of a research study for lymphedema. I was one of the controls, and we're looking into the interaction between venous issues and lymphedema, as well as venous issues and lymphedema. And it was that ultrasound that
they were like, hey,
Lindy Hutchison, she was like, I got some news for you. And you could see it. She's like, she pressed here.
Oh yeah, you can see it.
And then you can see it right on the thing. And she's like, because you have, this means that you have reflux. And she's like, well, what are your symptoms? Because I didn't have it the year previous. I get this research study happens once a year, so we get to be
so you caught yours right away.
And I caught mine right away. And she's like, well, what are your symptoms? She's like, do you have heavy legs? Are you tired at the end of the day? Or do you have any swelling? And I was like, no, I run all the time, I'm very active. And she's like, so you don't need to do anything. And I was like, actually, every one of you would be hard. I would give you $1 if you found a certified lymphedema therapist or like a nurse, anyone who's on their feet all for hours. These are gonna help you. The compression stockings.
Because I'm a photographer. I stand sometimes for hours. Just recently, which I shouldn't have done. Hopefully my doctor isn't watching this. I did an event and, I got pushed back with the press, which usually I'm way cool and don't get pushed back with the press, but I did. And I had to stand on a curb, balance on a curb for an hour.
Yeah.
And when I left, my feet were numb, both legs were numb. And, it was horrible.
Yeah.
But, even without this, I'm on my feet all the time. So I guess it's, normal. But one of the things that kind of didn't slow it down, but I didn't notice the symptoms is because I wear the compression garment.
Mm-hmm.
And
because that's the first line of treatment.
That's the first, I wear a 30-40, but, now after I go in for these surgery, he wants to knock me down to a 20-30. Is that what I told you? That's right. Yeah, 20-30. Yeah. And so, but compression is so important, and that's could be your first line of defense. If it runs in your family, why take, clearly you don't have to wear the big bulky things that I wear, but something cute like those, they just look like regular socks.
Yep. Yeah.
And, that helps you through the day and make sure that you don't. And there's a lot of vascular diseases, because I was researching, all of a sudden I'm a Google professional now because I was blown away, and to find that, we're finding that it is a link between the lymphatic system and the vascular system, because with the vascular system not working properly, it puts a load on the lymphatic system, which can cause lymphedema. And so all the abdomen swelling I'm having and all the pain, because, I'm swollen, so it's crowded in there. So it's causing me stomach issues and bowel issues, and it's ugly right now. But he said, well, no, once we get this cleared out, it's just the lymph fluids that have built up, and because I already have a compromised lymphatic system. And it was like, who knew? And, so thank you for saying, put my big girl panties on and make that call. Because, I was like, they sent me to a vascular surgeon, and you were like,
it's a good option. Yeah, it's a really good option.
And so, that's something that I think people need to be aware of, whether you have lymphedema or your grandma has varicose veins, or you just, at the end of the day, your legs are heavy and ache. Now, the other symptom that I had, and I've told doctors about this, because I had itchy legs. I would itch to the point where I have scars on my legs where I've hurt myself. Not that because it would itch so bad. And that is actually one of the symptoms of this. And I didn't know until I was reading, and I was like, oh yeah, I have some scars, which is gross, but my legs would itch just, oh my God. And that could be symptoms of other things. And I thought that it was a symptom of just my immune system, you know. But I'm like, oh, I bet that had to do with, hopefully that'll be gone after the surgery and we'll know. But so, talk to your doctor and say, hey, go to a vascular surgeon.
Yep. So I'm firmly going to say, as a professional, you don't self-diagnose with any of the information you hear today.
No.
This is to give you the confidence
to go talk to your doctor.
To your doctor, to ask for the referral to the vein clinic and have that conversation with your primary physician, or see definitely if you can get the vein clinic, and make sure when you go somewhere, when you call, that they know about lymphedema, that they know about the lymphatics. If you're trying to do a vein clinic and you have a diagnosis of lipedema, make sure they know what lipedema is at the vein clinic, so they can help you.
And you may have to go to a couple of doctors. It may be a pain to get to the right vascular surgeon. Yeah. I just kind of lucked out, because when I got there, they were like, oh yeah, we treat people with lymphedema. It's like,
So we're making inroads, like I said. The next AVLS conference is in Arizona. It's coming up pretty soon. I will be there. I'm very excited to learn more. So kind of the cross-pollination between the venous experts and the lymphatic experts is happening, but just make sure you have one. Ideally they would be a member of AVLS and a colleague of mine. And then as far as compression, definitely whatever they prescribe as compression is great. I personally wear, this is Sigvaris. It's a 20 to 30. You can get it on Amazon. You can get it from the Sigvaris website. You can get it from DME providers or some of the big CVS's. And the Veris and Sigvaris is actually varicose. So it's Dr. Sig and Veris. Mm-hmm. So it's part of the name. They're designed like the origination of the brand was to help varicose issues. And they're super, like that's Argyle. What can you say? Right. They have pink ones. Like you don't have to look like my grandma. And I think that's the first instinct is like, well, I'm going to look like my grandma and I'm not an old woman yet. Like I don't want to be there. But we've come up with some great designs and several companies make the stockings.
I wore Juzo and and you know I got Juzo. I've got the thigh highs to wear after surgery that are a different compression than my custom. You know because you know for me you know wearing you know this big thing you know I have to be comfortable and you know so you have to have something that fits good. So I'm excited to go step down a compression and see if we can stay down, you know, if this takes care of it. That'll be awesome. We'll see. I'll keep you posted.
Yeah. And then, so she's going to get a really quality garment and Juzo will do a quality job. Jobs does a quality job. Sigvaris does a quality job. It has to be a graduated compression. So that's where you really want to follow that prescription and get what your doctor wants you to. And not get something that you see on the internet, some random brand that's cheaper that you see on Amazon or somewhere else. It's not going to be medical grade, and it's often not going to be graduated. It's just going to be tight and
so
tight
it's not moving.
Around.
Yeah, it's like putting a rubber band on. So I you know saw I think I was on Instagram and I saw an ad and I started looking into it and I think I sent it to you and you're like, oh no, and you explained to me and I started looking. I was like, oh yeah, you know, compression garments are not cheap, but they're not so expensive that you can't feasibly do them. You know, I think $30-$40 for knee highs, maybe $60.
Yeah, closer to $50-$60 for the Sigvaris. I get it with and it's 30 to 40 or 20 to 30 is a good level of compression. So it's not if you buy the pair of the tights men's socks or they're 10 to 15, that's not enough. If you have a venous issue, it's not going to completely help your venous system completely to move the blood up. And if you are going to go into wearing a sock that's not, you know, $5 at Walmart or whatever, you want to get the correct level of compression for you, which your doctor will be able to say.
Because otherwise you're spending $20 or $30 on something that could actually harm you or not be effective.
It's just not going to completely be effective. It'll still be annoying, but it won't be effective. So if something's going to be, like I can feel my compression on, you can feel your compression on. It's definitely helping my legs, but I have the right compression for what's happening with my legs right now.
Yeah. So, but don't be cheap on that. Just figure out a way to make it happen.
So, and then off and away. So definitely for the knee highs, I bought 2 pairs, and each one the life expectancy is 6 months with daily use. So if you buy 2 pairs and you wash one, wear one, wash one, wear one. And which I do because I'm a therapist, so that means I have a lot of laundry, and so there's always laundry going in. So if you get 2 or 3 pairs, you can wear them and then rotate them throughout the week, and always have a fresh pair because you don't want to wear more than one day at a time because it does get stretched out. You want to have it washed so it can go back to its correct level of compression. And then I could launch into so if it's a proper compression garment, don't leave it in the sun. So the idea, we had this beautiful, my mom put everything outside on the line. And it was beautiful.
Because it's elastic, it's compression, it gets brittle.
And have you ever left an elastic band outside? It'll get brittle. So the sun is not the friend of the compression. And then you want to wash
never dry.
You want to read. Well, you have to read the label. So there's different brands. You use different methods. Some want you to put it in the dryer. Some won't. Some even say in a heavier leg compression, if it's really in the summer, you can put it in the freezer for a half hour, and then when you come, if it's 100 degrees outside, and you're putting that compression on, and to go to sleep, like it's gonna feel good coming out of the freezer. So check if the brand is the one where it says, yeah, you can freeze it for a little bit before you put it on. You want to freeze it when it's dry. Don't freeze it when it's cold. All you have to do is make that mistake once, and you won't make it again. And then I want you, as a certified lymphedema therapist, we have to keep the skin healthy. The skin maintenance of the health of the skin is very important. So I want you to always moisturize, but you need to let whatever your moisturizer is sink in
and dry first.
Yeah. So that's, first of all, if I don't have to remind you of that, if you have any kind of serious compression, because putting compression on a wet body is like impossible. Putting a bathing suit on, a wet bathing suit on.
Yeah, and imagine going to an outside event, working and being sweaty and clammy and having to go to the bathroom in a public stall that's this big. It's fun. Yeah, it's fun. So because you can get skin rashes, and you have to make sure your skin is dry before you put your compression on.
And for the quality of the compression garment too, because that actually, if you get some of the really good like cocoa buttery emollient stuff, the emollient is going to get into your garment, and it's going to reduce the effectiveness of it. And you have to throw it away after 6 months. If it's that 180 days of daily use, it's no longer effective. So you have to know that even though it feels fine, it's worn out, and your body deserves a new one. And if you're getting custom compression, I want you to go back and get measured again.
Yeah, you have to get measured again because you change,
and
even little bit.
Yeah, there's two reasons. One is your body will change, and you could get some. So what if you're smaller? What if you've been doing a real good job with your lymphedema? You're smaller than that older garment, and why are we going to give you a garment that's bigger than what you need when you could keep that reduction by going into the smaller garment? And number two is they are always, the engineers are always working to update. So there might be a better, newer one, faster mousetrap on the market as far as a garment with, and they're always doing little darts. They're really, they're listening to what the clients say and improving the garments, improving the fabric. So you want to take advantage of going into a newer garment that's the latest thing that everyone's talking about, instead of being in this old garment. And this is things that I offered advice to my clients that have lymphedema for 4 years, and every year I was like, go and get measured, and pick up your new garment and see if there's anything new in the selection for the people that want to go to the DME store and see what's there.
So what I do is every 6 months I get a new garment, but I'm like wearing, I alternate it every other day. So like one garment, my new garment's brand new, and then I have one that's 6 months old, but I've only worn it every other day. And then
so it's not to 180 days yet.
So I alternate it. So I always have these, alternating, because you can't be a busy person and have one garment, because you have to wash it, and it has to be dry.
Yeah, and it has to air dry.
And I air dry mine at night.
And if it's sticky and wet out, it's not going to dry overnight.
No. So, I mean, living in Southern California, usually I can hang it up in the house, and by morning it's good. But yeah, so these are things to think about, and, so be aware that compression garments are amazing. But don't, if you think, hey, maybe I have vascular issues, I thought it was always this, but go talk to your primary doctor and get referred to a good vascular surgeon, because this may be a life changer for Peggy.
Yeah, I really hope so.
So,
yeah, fingers crossed.
But anyway, well, thanks for hanging out.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Don't you guys love her? Okay, guys, bye.
Bye.